AFL had proved its worth.
Before the match between a team sponsored by a cigarette company and one sponsored by a brewery, these kids held up a small banner. The crowd responded warmly to this little statement, but while the slogans promoting cigarettes and alcohol were okay, the message on the kids' banner was taboo.
You haven't got the right wording on it.
What's the problem with it?
You haven't got the right wording on it.
What was it? Not the right wording, or was it a case of not enough power? Certainly not the power of Elliott or Carlton and United, or the power that Philip Morris holds at St Kilda. No, Fight for Football is a few kids and little people belly aching into the wind. What do you think of the Fight for Football?
I don't want to get involved in that. Like, I'm only a small cog in the AFL wheel, so my opinion wouldn't mean a great deal for the good of football. Okay, have a good day.
Excuse me, have you heard from Fight for Football? Yes. There's a meeting on the...
Kathy Bissett is married to a former VFL star. But while that slogan was being taken down last Saturday, she was handing out leaflets and leading the growing resistance to the Australian Football League.
People are just sick and tired of being treated as though they haven't got a mind, they haven't got a brain because they're a football supporter. And we're here to show them that we have.
The fight, they argue, is not on the field, but on the terraces. The Fight for Football campaign wants these people to have a say.
I see it being taken away by people who think it is now fashionable to be seen at the football. I see them, half the time they're not even watching the football, they're just socialising. Melburnians have an extraordinary love affair with their football, the city's winter religion for 135 years. The Cup might be the race that stops a nation, but the heartbeat of Melbourne is its footy, the traditional rivalry between suburban teams. The fans wear their hearts on their sleeves, or as Collingwood players did after last year's premiership, tattooed onto their legs. That's why many Melburnians feel that their competition, the VFL, has been hijacked by the National League.
We want our clubs to be there. We want to see them right through. It's been going for 100 years now. Why should it stop now? Just because they want a national competition. We don't want the national competition. The supporters don't want the national competition. Then why in the hell don't they let the supporters have their opinion for once in their life, give their views?
And the lady spearheading the campaign was Irene Chatfield. Irene never dreamed that one day she'd take on Australia's most powerful sporting body, but she did.
Irene Chatfield upturned the machinations of the moguls when her court action saved Footscray from a merger with Fitzroy. Since then, Richmond and Fitzroy have both faced oblivion, but both have survived so far. Now, Irene, with her solicitor from the Footscray fight and their cohorts, are tackling the AFL over a range of issues, particularly the likely demise of several clubs. Do you think that the clubs will survive, all of those?
It's really in their hands.
Oh, I don't believe that. I mean, if you have to have a national competition, of course Melbourne, but that would assume that we have to have 11 clubs in West Australia and 11 in South Australia and 11 in Sydney and Brisbane to make it an even competition. So we are being squeezed out now.
But when you see headlines like this in your main daily paper, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I just look at that and I say, well, another beat-up, and I think that it doesn't do any good for football at all to see headlines of that nature in the paper.
Do you believe the AFL when it says that it's not got an agenda for reducing clubs in Melbourne?
No, I don't. I think you need to be fairly sceptical what the AFL says publicly. I think... obviously, they have meetings. Obviously, they do have a plan.
These moves had been made as a Victorian competition long before we looked at going national.
So these people are trying to turn back time when you can't?
Well, you can't turn back time.
Administration believe there's no alternative but to move north if the Swans want success.
Eccleston says the object is to give Sydney a team they can be proud of.
Well, it's official. Congratulations. Thank you, Tony.
That team is the Port Adelaide Football Club.
Maybe they can't turn back the clock, but they're going to try. Alarmed by the corporate power plays, by the Swans debacle, the flirtations with Edelsten and Skase, the Port Adelaide fiasco, and the dramas surrounding Footscray, Fitzroy and Richmond, these people gathered this week to voice their protest.
Our game has been converted from just that to what is now a commodity, and in the process has lost its richness, which in a sense was the people involved for the love of the sport.
Do you see football now as being a business or a game?
It's part of the entertainment industry.
They have a very narrow view and a very narrow vision. The AFL have got the interest of football administrators at heart.
Like any consumer product, if you don't get the product right, if you don't present to the people what they won't come. And so the product withers. And the product was withering in the early 80s and mid-80s. It was withering. Crowds have been going down for 6 years in a row. Since the mid-80s, crowds have been going up every year. And we've revitalised the product, we've provided some new spark to the product, and so the crowds are increasing and so are club memberships.
Who cares who we barrack for? Let's get together and say what we believe in. Don't let them take it from us. Don't let them do it. And if they do, we can say, well, we tried, did you?
These people are hurting because they feel they've lost what was great about their game. But no matter how well-intentioned they are, they can't turn back time. Not unless the 200 here becomes 200,000, or better still, 2 million.
250 people got together to think about whether they would like to see football revert back to a Victorian competition. Last year we had 4 million people come through our gates, 4 million people to watch AFL football. I think the majority of people are voting with their feet.
So the Eagles will remain on top, but we're all seeing ugly scenes here, with a spectator obviously involved there.
There have been disturbing hostilities between Melbourne fans and the West Coast Eagles and Adelaide Crows. Petty jealousies perhaps, especially as Melburnians awaken to the nightmare of an Eagles premiership. And the realisation that Melbourne no longer has the God-given monopoly over its winter religion.
Go, Simon, go, Choco!
At Footscray last Saturday, Cathy's Bulldogs outslogged the Crows. But on the terraces, the bleating was getting louder.
We like to stand there and get our say of the football. We don't get no say at all. They do all these changes and the public gets nothing. It's about time that we had a bit of a say in it.
Who does football belong to? The people.
The people.
You really think that?
Yes.
Look, mate, the yuppies have hijacked this game in the 80s.
Yeah.
It's time the people said, this is what we want.
I believe that we need this game. I think in tough times, people cling to their football club. And I believe we're going through tough times now, and if we lose our football clubs, I think all of society is going to pay.
History, Sunday's opening qualifying finals match